The morning sun peeked through the cabin windows as Do-hyun prepared a simple breakfast of rice and soup. It had been 2 weeks since he found Ara in the crashed spaceship, and each day brought new surprises. He watched as she sat at his small wooden table, carefully holding a spoon in her silvery hands. She had learned to eat human food quickly, though she still made funny faces at certain tastes. "This? Good," Ara said in broken Korean, pointing at the soup. Her voice had a musical quality that made even simple words sound beautiful. Do-hyun smiled, remembering how just days ago she could only communicate through gestures. "I'm glad you like it," he replied slowly, making sure to pronounce each word clearly. He had become her Korean teacher without planning to be one. "Would you like more?" Ara nodded, then suddenly stopped. Her large purple eyes grew serious. "Do-hyun," she said, "I need tell you something." He sat down across from her, giving her his full attention. Over the past weeks, he had learned that when Ara wanted to say something important, she needed time and patience to find the right words. "I am not tourist," she started, using one of the words he had taught her yesterday. "I am scientist. Study primitive worlds." She touched her chest, where a strange mark glowed faintly under her silvery skin. Do-hyun leaned forward, trying to understand. "You're a researcher. You study other planets." Ara's face lit up at his understanding. "Yes. Research, life forms, different worlds." She made a gesture with her hands that seemed to represent the universe. "My ship, special technology. Bad people want. Steal." The pieces started falling into place in Do-hyun's mind. The crash wasn't an accident. Someone attacked you. Ara nodded vigorously. "Space, pirates," she said, using a word she must have learned from the action movies Do-hyun sometimes watched in the evening. "They chase me. I run. Crash here." Do-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. The idea that there might be dangerous space pirates looking for Ara made him worried. He had grown protective of her over the past weeks, watching her heal and learn at an amazing speed. As if reading his concern, Ara reached across the table and touched his hand. Do-hyun felt a strange, warm sensation spread up his arm. He had noticed this happening more frequently. Whenever Ara touched him, he could sense her emotions. Right now, he felt gratitude and something else, a deep sense of attachment. "Your people," Do-hyun said carefully. "Can you contact them? Let them know you're safe." Ara pulled her hand back, and the warm feeling faded. "Not yet. Ship broken. Emergency signal. Dangerous. Pirates confined." Do-hyun nodded, understanding her caution. He got up to clear the breakfast dishes, but as he moved away from the table, he noticed Ara becoming tense. Her breathing quickened, and her silvery skin seemed to shimmer with anxiety. "Are you okay?" he asked, returning to her side. Almost immediately, her breathing steadied. "I'm fine when you near," she admitted, looking embarrassed. "My people, we form bond with helpers in danger time." "A bond?" Do-hyun asked, curious about this new information. Ara touched her chest again, where the mark glowed. "Long ago, my people evolved. When hurt, we bond with safe person. Help survive." She looked at him apologetically. "I try. Control. But hard." Do-hyun sat back down, processing this information. It explained so much. Why Ara seemed anxious whenever he left the cabin. Why her recovery seemed to slow when he wasn't nearby. And why he could sometimes feel her emotions through touch. "It's okay," he assured her. "I understand. It's part of who you are." Over the next few hours, as the winter sun climbed higher in the sky, Ara shared more about her world. She came from a civilization thousands of years more advanced than Earth. Her people had spread across many galaxies, but they had strict rules about interfering with developing worlds like Earth. "We watch, learn, no contact," she explained, using hand gestures to help convey her meaning. "I break rules. Crash here. You helped me. Big problem. Why is it a problem that I helped you? Do-hyun asked, feeling concerned. Bond, not allowed. With primitive world people, she said, then quickly added, sorry, not mean primitive bad. Mean, different development level. Do-hyun couldn't help but laugh. It's okay. Compared to your civilization, we probably are primitive. As evening approached, Do-hyun needed to check his rescue service radio and make his daily report. These few minutes away from Era always seemed to affect her strongly. Today, he tried something new. Would you like to come with me to the radio room? He offered. You can see how our primitive communication technology works. Era's face brightened at the invitation. As they walked to the small room together, Do-hyun noticed how naturally she stayed close to him, like a shadow. In the radio room, she watched with genuine interest as he made his report, careful to stay out of sight of the video feed. Very simple, she said after he finished, but her tone was fascinated rather than dismissive. But beautiful too, like first steps. Later that night, as they sat by the fireplace, Era attempted to explain more about her research. She had been studying Earth's ecosystems, particularly how different species adapted to extreme environments. Her ship contained years of research data, which made it valuable to the pirates who had attacked her. Pirates have. Human helper, she revealed, her voice growing serious. No Earthways. Make hiding harder. This news worried Do-hyun. A human working with space pirates meant the threat was even closer to home than he had imagined. He noticed Ara shivering slightly, though the room was warm. We'll figure something out, he assured her, and found himself reaching for her hand without thinking. The moment their fingers touched, he felt her fear mix with trust and something deeper, feelings she couldn't quite express in her limited Korean. That night, as Do-hyun lay in his bed, he had given Era his room and slept on the couch. He thought about how much his life had changed in just 2 weeks. He had gone from being a solitary rescue worker to hosting an alien researcher who was literally bound to him by her biology. The situation was complicated, possibly dangerous, and definitely against her people's rules. Yet as he drifted off to sleep, he realized he wouldn't have it any other way. Somewhere between the language lessons, shared meals, and quiet moments of understanding, he had grown to care for Era not just as someone he had rescued, but as a friend who brought wonder into his world. In her room, Era sat by the window, watching Earth's moon, so different from the 3 moons of her home world. She touched the glowing mark on her chest, feeling the bond that connected her to Do-hyun, even through the cabin's walls. Her people would not approve of how close she had grown to this human, but as she felt his peaceful, sleeping emotions through their bond, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more language lessons, more sharing of cultures, and always the underlying worry about the pirates searching for her. But for now, in this quiet moment, both human and alien found peace in their unexpected connection, a bridge between 2 worlds that neither had imagined possible. The peaceful routine Do-hyun and Ara had built over the past weeks shattered on a cold winter night. Do-hyun was chopping firewood outside when he saw strange lights in the sky. They weren't stars or planes. They moved in patterns he had never seen before. He rushed back into the cabin. Ara stood by the window. Her silvery skin had turned pale, almost white with fear. She didn't need to speak. Do-hyun could feel her terror through their bond. They found me, she whispered, her voice shaking. The pirates. The emergency beacon. I thought I turned it off, but Do-hyun moved quickly, gathering essential supplies into his rescue backpack. Can we disable the beacon completely? Hera nodded. Must go to ship. But dangerous. They close now. Do-hyun grabbed his winter gear and handed Era some warm clothes he had bought for her from the nearby town. I know these forests better than anyone. We can make it. They slipped out of the cabin into the darkness. The winter air bit at their faces, but Do-hyun knew how to move quietly through the snow. He had spent years learning these woods as a rescue worker. Now those skills would help them survive. Era stayed close to him, her feet barely making any sound on the snow. The bond between them felt stronger than ever. Do-hyun could sense her fear mixing with determination. He realized she was using their connection to match his movements perfectly. They had gone about a kilometer when they heard the first ship overhead. Do-hyun pulled Ara under a thick pine tree, its branches heavy with snow providing cover. The ship passed by, its searchlights sweeping the forest floor. "That's not the worst part," Era said softly. "Commander Kang, the human who helps them. He knows Earth forests, knows tracking." Do-hyun felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. A human tracker working with the pirates would make things much harder. But he had an idea. "We'll use that against them," he said. "They'll expect us to avoid leaving tracks. Instead, we'll leave lots of tracks, going in different directions." Era's eyes widened with understanding. "Confuse them." "Exactly. But first, we need to reach your ship and disable that beacon." They moved through the forest, occasionally doubling back and making false trails. Do-hyun used every trick he had learned about winter survival. He showed Ara how to walk on fallen logs to avoid leaving prints, and how to use low-hanging branches to brush away their tracks. After an hour of careful movement, they reached the crash site. Ara's ship lay half buried in snow, its silver surface reflecting the moonlight. As they approached, Do-hyun heard voices in the distance. "Quick," Ara said, pressing her hand against a hidden panel. The door slid open silently. Inside the ship, everything was dark except for a faint purple glow from various panels. Ara moved to what looked like the main control area. Her fingers danced over symbols Do-hyun couldn't understand. "Beacon found," she said. "But something wrong. Someone changed codes, made beacon stronger." "The pirates?" Do-hyun asked. "No, this different." Ara's face showed confusion. "Like, warning to my people. About." She looked at Do-hyun with worry. "About me," he guessed. "About our bond." Before Ara could answer, they heard snow crunching outside. Someone was approaching the ship. "Hide," Ara whispered, pulling Do-hyun into a small storage area. Through a small gap, they watched as a figure entered the ship. The man wore Earth-winter clothing, but carried what was clearly an alien weapon. His face was Korean, but his eyes had a hardness that made Do-hyun uncomfortable. "I know you're here, Ara," the man said in Korean. "I'm Commander Kang. We don't have to be enemies. The pirates just want your research data. Give it to them, and they'll leave you alone." Ara trembled slightly, but her voice was steady when she whispered to Do-hyun. "He lies. Data has ship codes. They want to steal more ships, attack more researchers." Do-hyun nodded, understanding. He pointed to some tools on the wall of their hiding place, then made a gesture like throwing something. Ara smiled, getting his idea. When Commander Kang passed close to their hiding spot, Do-hyun threw one of the tools toward the ship's entrance. The clang echoed through the ship, and Kang spun toward the sound. In that moment, Ara pressed her hand against a panel in her hiding spot. A pulse of energy shot through the ship, and all the lights went dead. Do-hyun felt Ara grab his hand, guiding him through the darkness. She could see much better than him in the dark. They slipped past the confused Kang and out of the ship, but their escape wasn't over. More voices were approaching through the trees. "The beacon," Do-hyun asked as they ran. "Destroyed. With ship power. Had to. Sacrifice ship systems. No power now." They ran through the snowy forest, with Ara guiding them through the darkness, and Do-hyun choosing the path. Their bond helped them move as one, neither slowing the other down. Behind them, they heard Kang shouting orders and the sound of several people crashing through the forest. The pirates weren't trying to be quiet anymore. They were angry. "They're spreading out," Do-hyun said, recognizing the standard search pattern. "They'll try to circle around us." Ara suddenly stopped, pulling Do-hyun to a halt. "Do-hyun, I must tell." The beacon change. It was my sister. She knows. About us. About Bond. Is that bad? Bond with primitive. Forbidden. Sister trying to warn others. Stop this. But Era touched the glowing mark on her chest. Bond already strong. Breaking it. Dangerous now. Do-hyun heard the fear in her voice. Not fear of the pirates, but fear of being separated from him. Through their bond, he felt her conflict. Duty to her people's laws versus the connection they had formed. We'll figure that out later, he said firmly. Right now, we need to survive. They continued through the forest, but now they had two problems. The pirates hunting them, and the knowledge that Era's own people might not approve of their connection. As they moved through the darkness, Do-hyun remembered something from his rescue training. There's an old ranger station 2 kilometers north. It's well hidden. I've used it in winter rescues. We can shelter there. Era nodded, trusting him completely. Their bond had grown so strong that words weren't always necessary. She could feel his confidence in the plan, and he could feel her determination to face whatever came next. The night grew colder, and the sounds of pursuit faded behind them. But both knew this was just the beginning. The pirates wouldn't give up easily, and somewhere out there, Era's people were coming. Maybe to help, maybe to enforce their laws against bonds with primitive species. As they approached the ranger station, snow began to fall, covering their tracks. Do-hyun felt Era's hand squeeze his, sending waves of emotion through their bond. Trust, gratitude, and something deeper that neither of them was ready to name. They had survived the night, but both knew their challenges were far from over. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, but at least they would face them together. A human and an alien, connected by a bond that defied both their world's rules. Dawn broke over the old ranger station where Do-hyun and Ara had spent the night. The small wooden building had kept them safe, but both knew they couldn't stay much longer. Through their bond, they could feel each other's worry mixing with determination. Do-hyun checked through the station's windows. Fresh snow had covered their tracks, but it also meant any new footprints would be easy to spot. We need to get back to my cabin, he said. The rescue service will notice if I don't make my daily report. Era stood by the station's old radio equipment, her silvery skin reflecting the early morning light. Do-hyun, she said softly, I feel something. Through space. My people, they come. Before Do-hyun could respond, they heard engines overhead, but these weren't the pirate ships. The sound was different, smoother, almost musical. Through their bond, Do-hyun felt Era's recognition and a new kind of fear. That's my sister, Hae-nul, Era explained. She leads rescue team. But she touched the glowing mark on her chest, their bond point. She must follow laws, break bonds with primitive worlds. Do-hyun felt his heart grow heavy. Will breaking the bond hurt you? Hurt both, Era said, moving closer to them. Bond too strong now. Breaking could damage minds. But staying breaks all my people's rules. Suddenly, they heard movement outside. But it wasn't Era's people. The footsteps were too heavy, too careless. The pirates had found them. Back door, Do-hyun whispered, taking Era's hand. They slipped out just as the front door burst open. The forest was bright with morning sun, the fresh snow blinding white. They ran toward thicker trees, but a voice stopped them. Enough running. Commander Kang stepped out from behind a tree, holding his alien weapon. Your sister's ships scared off most of my team, Ara. But I'm not leaving without that research data. More figures emerged from the trees, 3 pirates with weapons. They were trapped. Then a new sound filled the air, like crystal bells ringing. A ship appeared above them, more beautiful than anything Do-hyun had ever seen. It was shaped like a silver leaf, glowing with soft light. A beam of light touched the ground, and a figure appeared. She looked like Era, but taller, with darker silver skin. Hae-nul. 2 more of Era's people appeared beside her. Sister, Hey Newell said in perfect Korean, "You have broken our highest law. Bonding with a primitive species. They're not primitive." Era stepped forward, still holding Do-hyun's hand. "They feel, think, love. Different, but equal. Do-hyun saved me. Protected me. Our bond. It's real." Commander Kang laughed. "How touching. Now about that research data." He raised his weapon, but Hey Newell moved faster than any human could. In a flash, Kang's weapon was gone, and he was on his knees. The other pirates dropped their weapons, realizing they were outmatched. "Commander Kang," Hey Newell said coldly, "you have helped pirates attack researchers across 3 systems. Your crimes are not Earth's concern, but they are ours." Do-hyun felt Era's grip tighten. Through their bond, he felt her gathering courage. "Sister," Era said, "I understand our laws, but they were made long ago, when we thought different meant lesser. Do-hyun showed us all, that we were wrong." Hey Newell's expression softened slightly. "The bond you share, our scientists say it's deeper than any recorded. Breaking it would harm you both." "Then don't break it," Do-hyun spoke up. Everyone turned to look at him. "Your laws exist to protect both our peoples, right? But what if this bond could help instead of harm?" He took a deep breath and continued. "Era is a researcher. She studies how different species adapt and survive. Maybe this bond, maybe we're proof that different species can adapt to each other, learn from each other." Through their bond, he felt Era's joy at his words, her hope rising. Hey Newell watched them closely, her expression thoughtful. "The Council will need proof," Hey Newell said finally. "Evidence that such bonds can benefit both species." "Then let us prove it," Era said. "Let me continue my research here. Study the bond. Learn how humans and our people can connect safely. Do-hyun can help, be a bridge between our worlds." Hey Newell was quiet for a long moment. The morning sun made the snow sparkle around them, and even the captured pirates watched in silence. "It will not be easy," Hey Newell said at last. "The Council will demand many safeguards, rules, limits on contact." "We understand," Do-hyun and Era said together, their bond making them smile at the synchronization. "As for you," Hey Newell turned to Commander Kang and his pirates, "you will face justice on our world. Your crimes have helped us see that isolation from primitive worlds has its own dangers." The pirates were led away to Hey Newell's ship, but Hey Newell wasn't finished speaking. "Era, you and Do-hyun will need to document everything. The bond, its effects, its potential. Our scientists will monitor you both. And Do-hyun," she turned to him, "you must understand that your life will never be the same. Our secrets will become your secrets." Do-hyun nodded. "I understand. But honestly, my life hasn't been the same since I found Era in the snow. I wouldn't want it any other way." Through their bond, Era sent him a wave of happiness so strong it made them both laugh. Over the next few hours, things moved quickly. Hey Newell's team set up special equipment in Do-hyun's cabin, devices to monitor the bond, communicate with Era's homeworld, and protect them from any other pirates who might come looking. Do-hyun's role with the rescue service would continue. It was a perfect cover for Era's ongoing research. But now he had a second job, helping Era study how humans and her people could safely connect, learning from each other while respecting both worlds' needs. That evening, after Hey Newell's ship had gone, Do-hyun and Era stood outside the cabin, watching Earth's moon rise. "Your sister said it won't be easy," Do-hyun said. Era smiled, her silvery skin glowing in the moonlight. "Best things, not easy, but worth it." Through their bond, they shared their feelings, hope, determination, and the deep connection that had changed both their lives. Above them, stars twinkled, no longer distant lights, but bridges between worlds, full of possibilities neither of them had imagined before they found each other. In the end, what had started as a simple rescue had become something much more. Proof that sometimes breaking old rules could lead to better ones. That differences didn't have to mean distance, and that bonds, whether born of necessity or choice, could change not just two lives, but two worlds.